Welcome to all the classic car enthusiasts. Another day, another drink in my hand, thank you. Prost, as they say, or cheers in the UK. Okay, so some people have been asking me about the mystery tool, and I will reveal it right now. The tool actually is, a lot of people thought it was a kind of flaring tool because it looks very similar to the flaring tool you can use, the hand flaring tool for brakes. This is it here. You can see, and you can see it has this little edge that comes out, and then this opens. What it actually is a thread cleaning tool or a rethreading tool. It's basically a very cheap version. If you have a bolt, for instance, like this one, and it's damaged on the front, it's very difficult to put a die on that and get it onto the threads. You really need it down further. So with this tool, the idea was you opened the tool up like this. You put, if it was damaged on the front, you put the damaged bit in the front like this. Then you pull this back over. Hang on, let's get it right. And then, hang on. And then you had the thread. I'll get this right in a second. Hang on, excuse me. So you could put the thread in further in like this if you like. And then by the time you put this back over, you square it back up. And then you can, hang on, I'll get it right. And you can see you can turn the thread. And the idea is that you could re-thread the end, where the end is damaged here, you could re-thread it in and out. You could cut a new thread with it. A bit basic, but it would do the trick, I guess. It would take the burr off the thread, and that's what it is. It's actually a thread cleaning tool. And it was one, I've forgotten who it was. It wasn't Tom, was it? No. It wasn't Mini Tom. No, it was a chap in Canada that won it. I can't remember his name offhand, I'm sorry. But anyway, he won it, and I sent it out to him. I think he's in either British Columbia or somewhere in Canada. Damn, what's his name? I'm terrible. Because of my age, I forget a lot of things. But anyway, it was won by a chap. But this Mustang Bob was asking me about it because they're building an aeroplane. He asked me. It's really intriguing me what it is, and that's exactly what it is. It's for threading bolts. It's a cheap way. Instead of having dies, you only need dies, not taps. Okay, so that's it revealed, and it was won already. Sorry about that. I want to give a quick shout out to, there's a guy called Richard Michael Owens is his name. Michael Owens, wasn't he a Liverpool player? Anyway, whatever. So Richard Michael Owens is his channel, his website, and he has a company called Owens Automotive, and they do a lot of classic cars. Again, I think it's in Canada or British Columbia, or I think it's in Canada anyway. Richard Michael Owens. So have a look at his site. He's got he's got a workshop for about 4 or 5 cars, and they do all kinds of classics, TRs, Triumphs, TR6, well, you name it, they'll do it. Done an E-Type, and he's had a couple up just lately of some car shows in Canada. Some beautiful stuff. So yeah, Richard Michael Owens, go and have a look at his site, and really interesting. And I see Tom, Mini Tom's doing very well. He's really getting very comfortable in front of the camera, and he's putting out quite a lot of videos now, which is good news. So that's great. Really, that's it. So the bit of video you're going to see is basically on the XK150. And we've come up against some issues, which is a standard thing with restorations on cars. You're never going to, everything's never going to roll perfectly. It just doesn't happen that way. It's something you need to prepare for. But the biggest problem for me is obviously I can't just go down the road and buy a bolt or buy a nut or whatever. And it turns out that the problem we've got now is that the new gearboxes that we've got, the T5 gearboxes, where the bell housing fits onto the adapter plate or onto the main housing of the box, they're UNC, so they're a coarse thread, and the original ones on the original gearbox were UNF, were fine, and so now I have to get the right bolts. But it's not just the thread that's important, obviously it's most important, but it's the length of the stud as well, because they have to fit perfectly, because they're going into a closed end. And I was talking about this in the video about not putting grease anywhere near them, because if you get grease trapped you will hydraulically lock it. So hope you enjoy the video, and I'll catch you in a few days, because I think the next one will probably be Sunday when we go to this exotic and sports car and classic car thing in Hartberg, which is about, I don't know, 15, 20 k's, 30 k's for me, whatever it is. Not far, 20 miles, 15 miles. So take care. Bye. So what I'm doing now is setting up these bell housings for the new Tremac or the T5 gearboxes. And as you can see here, I've got the new release bearing ready to go. So I just wanted to show for some of the guys, the XK guys doing it. So when you get the kit, you get the new release bearing and the new spring. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to put them on. So they've been pre-greased in there. So basically all you need to do is push that in like this, and then make sure your screwdriver's clean. And you can see there I can actually force too fat. I can force this on, and then what I do then is push it backwards into a little recess on the back. I'll take this out and show you, then you can see they fit home. So there's you can see how the spring goes on, and you can see there's like a little dimple in the back here on both sides, so that they fit in, and then obviously that's now solid, one piece. So I've pre-greased this, and just to show you the difference, this is the one from Johan's car. So you can see, if I put those together, there's quite a bit of difference there. Hopefully that's showing up in the camera. So you can see how much of the thrust is worn down. This was from Johan, and this was from my car. And you can see there's virtually nothing left. It's right down onto the metal. So all of that has gone basically. So I'll reposition the camera, or maybe I can do it there. Yeah, okay. Excuse me for walking in front of the camera, but I'm going to go across and. So, to carry on, you can see I've cleaned all the bell housing out, cleaned everything here. What we do now is offer this onto the shaft. It's all been pre-greased. I'll try and hold it up the way so you can see it, and I can then offer this in. This has all been pre-greased. You can see there's grease on it now. I'll just clean that up. It's a very basic system, and you can see there I can line that up. Basically what happens is this hole is like a pinch bolt which comes through here, which keeps the shaft in line, and then there's another one here which lines up there, you can see through that hole there. I'll pop that in, line it all up. The shafts and the bearings are perfect, there's no problem at all with them. And then you have basically it's a thread with which goes in, and you can feel obviously when it's not. And it will go in line, you can see there. Okay, now you can see I can turn the release bearing. What they've also done here, like a lot of stuff with the older Jaguars, is they've got a hole in the nut so that when you tighten it down you can put wire, which they're using mostly in the aircraft industry. And then we put locking wire around here and it stops this bolt coming off, because obviously if this bolt ever came out, that would be able to run free. So this is where the mechanism is. So what I'm going to do now is I'll get this all built up. I'll then preset it up onto the gearbox so we can lay the engines into the chassis and go from there. It's clean enough. I mean, this is going to get covered in clutch dust anyway, but just make sure that face is clean before you put it on. And that's basically how it works. The reason it's moving is because I haven't got this one in. So when I turn it over now, this is the one that goes in. So now I can put this in, and I have to pull this shaft so it's exactly, excuse me, so it's in line. It should just go in a little bit, and it should drop down. There we go. And that's it in place. So what I'll do is I'll tighten them off camera, and now you can see it's not tight yet, but you can see that's how it's working. So every time you put the foot in the clutch, this is pressing the pressure plate, releasing the clutch. So there you go. Really not a lot to them, but as I said, you can see the massive difference between them. Even those two alone, there's a huge difference. I mean, that's just worn to nothing. In fact, it's right onto the steel there. You can see, hopefully I can show you better there. When I line them two up, you can see the massive difference. And this is half of what it should be anyway. So it was well worn. Obviously what this has done, like a brake, this metal will start wearing into the friction plate, or into the pressure plate, and obviously it would cut it and damage it, but obviously it's all brand new, so there's no problem. So there you go. Very old-fashioned system, but it works. Okay, so just brought it back. Just taking this back out again, and you can see there's a typical problem here with parts that are manufactured afterwards. You can see there's a little recess there for this spring to go into, and you can see that this one is actually up against it. When I move this one in, so basically what it means is the shaft is not going all the way in. When I push it in, you can see it's not actually caught on here. The bend is in the wrong position, so what I'm going to do is use the original ones. So I'll take these back out, and all I've got to do is just move it up. In fact, I can probably use one of those pliers. So you just basically turn this. In fact, it'll probably come out without. There we go. So I'll put one of the old ones in there, which I've cleaned up, and you can see the difference. There you go. See how it fits in very much nicer than this one. I'll do the same on the other side. And they're brand new. Just to give you an idea, you can see the difference. Hopefully you can see I'll get the screwdriver out of there. You can see the difference where that hook is. This is miles out in comparison to it. So I'm going to put this in. There's a little hole inside there. And you can see that clip is perfectly in line there. So I've used the old ones instead of the new ones because these are not shaped quite correctly. So something to be aware of. Something you have to keep looking out for these things. And this is the downside with stuff that's made after the production run's gone, or the original parts. This is why people try and look for old new stock. You'll often see it, ONS, old new stock, and this is what they're looking for, because the parts were manufactured at the time of the production of the car. So yeah, just a little tip there. Hopefully it comes in handy if somebody who's looking or doing this job. Right, so everything's back in. I've put the old clips in because they weren't centering properly on this, like I showed earlier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put locking wire into this nut, which I already pre-cleaned. So I'll put it up there. Very basic tool this, but modern cars don't have, tend to have locking wire. And a single strand is good enough. In fact, this is probably far too long, so I'll cut it back a little bit. And basically what I'm going to do is just pop it together, so that's the right length. So you can see, just pop it together. This is a special pliers for them. You just capture the end, pull down, pull down the lock, and basically you just hold and pull. And you can feel when it's getting too much, and you just take it off. It's only to stop the nut from turning. It doesn't need to be exceptionally and then just pop that around the back, and then you can see, oh, wrong end, and that nut then can't obviously fall out, because if it did fall out, obviously this release bearing would be an issue. So there we go. And the man holding the light, the camera, so your camera assistant is Amir. There you go, look, there he is.
Hello guys.
So, catch you in a minute. So, as you can see, Amir and I have managed to get the engine on with a bit of jiggery pokery. Amir came up with an idea of using this come-along strap here. Yeah, using this come-along. You can come into the shop and show them how we did it. What we're going to do is we can't put the gearboxes on. Unfortunately, the Trimac T5 boxes, in the adapter plate, they are coarse thread, and the ones that went in the original bell housing were fine, UNC, and they're actually UNF. So now we have to get, so what we've done is we've just put the bell housing on so that we can put the starter in and at least turn the engines over. It does mean obviously we have to jack the back up again and take the mounts out and put the gearbox together with the bell housing and then put it back in. But it's just something we have to do. So the problem we found is that, and bearing in mind, guys, this is an open chassis, there would be a wing here normally. It would be a real pain, and to try and get these to come in line was very difficult. So we came up with this idea, so we can release that now, can't we? We can take that off. So I used this to pull it forward, and we got one at a time, and basically it was even half a clip to get it to line up. It was that tight. So what we'll do though, when we take it off, is we'll use it to pull against. There we go. Shall I pull? Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's caught on there. There we go. If something can get caught, it will. So, there we go. So we can lay this chassis back down now, can't I? So, yeah. So it's all in. It's solid enough. If you could just release that, just see what it's like on here. It's not going to tip forward. That's those wheels of yours, George, the good wheels. Yeah, so now we good. This was what this will do now is at least, let me just bring the camera up a little bit for you. So there we go. So at least now we can put the exhaust on and actually run it. So it will mean taking the exhaust apart again, but it's the only way to check these engines are okay. Because we need to take them running and make sure they're good. Put the manifolds together, even though these, I'm going to take these carbs off again and clean them. Then ones have to be rebuilt anyway, which I did on my E-Type, so there's no issue with it. But just these float chambers really are awful. They're cleaning up, they look horrible. But I don't even know, will that actually move now? I don't know if that will. There you go. So it moves. So yeah, so that's the next thing. I didn't notice, and when I called Bristol Classics, he wasn't sure if he said he wasn't sure if they were. The problem is obviously the bolts need to be exactly the right size for the bell housing, and when they go into the bell housing, there's a set of locking tabs. And obviously that locking tab and everything has to be exactly the right size. You can't go putting a bolt into a hole where there's a stop end on it. And while we're on that subject, if you're doing this kind of work, especially when you're putting bolts into the bell housing, if it's solid at the back, don't, whatever you do, put grease on the thread. If the bolt is open, and what I mean by that, the bolt can go right through, that's not a problem, the grease can be pushed out. But if you've got a closed thread, you know, something where it's a stop in it, like an engine block, if you put grease on that and you try and tighten it, you'll hydraulically lock the grease against the bolt head. You'll tighten it so hard that there'll be a hydraulic lock and you'll not get the bolt back out. I know this from a fact because we had a lot of problems with it in the oil industry where we're talking huge bolts, where people had greased them up, the grease had gone down the front, it'd been basically compressed to a point where the grease was holding, it was actually creating a vacuum on it. So be very careful, unless there's a complete hole, don't put grease on them. Okay, so that's it for today, so stay safe, keep the faith, and hopefully we'll get this running in the next few days, hopefully. Bye for now. Say bye.
Bye guys.
Bye from Amir.
Bye.